Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Blue Archive music reaction. Today we have PRST Academy and Marching. 83 and 84, I believe, are the theme numbers. This I tossed out on a community post asking for more requests, and this one, like usual, most likes ended up being the one that I went for, and this was the one. So here we are, and I gotta assume, based on the titles, that they're probably going to be kind of marching themed, like a drumline style, so this might actually have quite a bit for me to talk about. Without further ado, let's go. I was correct. Right off the bat. I gotta assume this is an Academy theme, so it's probably supposed to be like the school's theme song. It's a little boingy. It's a little goofy. It's got some comedic aspect to it. Like usually Academy themes are a little bit more triumphant. This one feels like it was written by a clown who's been reformed to a superintendent. It's like he's trying his best, but it's still a little goofy. I'm kind of focusing more on the drum parts now and hearing all the individual sections in that. There's some interesting sample choices as far as like what they're doing here, but I'll get to that. Really was a goofy ending there too. So yeah, definitely a little bit more goofy, has some clown energy to it. The overall melody, of course. The drums had some interesting choices of sample. I know it can be probably pretty difficult to find isolated samples of proper marching percussion, but I don't think a lot of that was. There was like the snares was pretty on point. They at least tried to use a very tight snare for the sample there, but like the crashes, that didn't feel like the, you know, like the clap crash that you would use in a marching band. It didn't resonate the right way. It sounded like it was just a stick on a standing crash, which, I mean, roughly the same, but there's definitely a lot more resonance and ring when you have marching crashes that you bang together, and it's just a different sound. You get a little bit of the like roll that happens as you bring them together. They kind of like make a ticking, tapping sound. It's very specific to the characteristic of crashing two cymbals together that wasn't quite there. And if it was definitely a super like stock sample, perfect situation kind of crash. And I just didn't hear that characteristic that comes out in actually doing it manually. There was also the sample in there, what sounded like a hi-hat actually, of like them trying to make it sound like what would happen again with those crashes. You would be walking and you would hold the bottoms together and then just kind of clack the edges to create this chick sound effect, similar to how on a acoustic hi-hat you'll hit the pedal and it'll kind of clasp them together, and that's the point, to keep time. But this sounded like a hi-hat, not like the cymbals being clasped together. Again, that's something that is super pointed to me as somebody who would know that difference, whereas I'm sure Mitsukiyo was just like, what samples do I have to work with? What can I make it sound close enough with? And for that purpose, it's totally fine, but I'm being nitpicky on purpose to point out those differences, to pay attention to those, because it's important to pay attention to those little differences, in my opinion. That sort of difference can make or break a song if you do or do not have the right equipment to make it happen. So it was a little distracting to me, but it didn't like ruin the track, is kind of what I'm trying to say here. I would also say, just percussively, another thing that was missing from this was the use of quads. Totally should have had some quads for those who don't know what quads are, they're the ones that you wear, basically just a bunch of toms on a rack, and you play those. And including those immediately makes anything sound much more like a drum line because they're so prevalent in that style of music. And there just wasn't any here. It was pretty much all snare, all bass, all cymbal, which is fine for a simple bit. But if you really want to wake the song up a little bit, have somebody on quads, go to town on the quads. But again, that's me being kind of nitpicky about the percussion. Overall, though, it was a fun song, definitely a little bit more goofy, more comedic than I expected out of an Academy theme, because I would have assumed that to be, like I said at the beginning, a little bit more triumphant instead of just, haha, we're kind of goofy. But I also understand that that's probably the vibe they're going for, because I assume, based on the picture I saw that goes along with this song, that there's probably some goofiness happening here. Like, this isn't supposed to be taken seriously. So in that respect, it does fit the mood pretty well. It's just in the raw expectation, being somebody who went through marching band, this isn't what I would entirely expect out of a theme for a school, more as I would expect it to be the theme that somebody writes trying to clown on people who do music like that. So I suppose in that respect, it's doing its exact purpose. But I think I'll move on to the marching theme next. For all I know, this next one could address some of those issues I had with this one. But overall, I'm kind of expecting a similar vibe, since it's the same producer, probably a very similar, if not the same samples being used. So I'm kind of wondering if this won't just be a different version of the same theme we just heard, just expanded upon, or it could be a completely different sound. So let's find out. I'm already hearing that original theme in there. It's got the same bass line. Oh. 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 The Russian club DJ got a hold of it. That's what happened. Okay. That's what's happening here. This one's definitely a little bit more lively. It's got that extra dance beat on top of everything else. See, I kind of like this evolution of this song, actually. This fits a lot more, in my opinion, with the more aggressive dance and that synth just pulsing underneath it. This fits that goofiness a little bit better. It's reminding me of something very specific, and I cannot think of the name of it. Woo! Now, this is something I want to see an actual live marching band do. A trap breakdown in the middle of an Academy theme. Like, let's go! Hey! 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 Trombone solo. You know? Back to the high energy. I'm kind of wondering if it'll end the same. Because if that's the case, then it's basically the same song with a dance beat. And then they just had that trap breakdown in there. It is. Fair enough. So yeah, like I said, that one was a lot more dancey, a lot more upbeat. That kind of matched the energy of the overall melody a little bit better, in my opinion. The trap breakdown, I didn't expect that. Love that. Would love to see that sort of thing done live. I think that trap breakdown kind of reminded me of the playthrough of Black and Blues that William Bilal did that got viral a couple of years back. That's such a good... If you haven't seen that, by the way, please look that up. Black and Blues by William Bilal. He's not the one that wrote it. He's just the guy who performed the solo, but he did a fantastic trombone solo, and you really feel that power. It's an amazing solo. But I think that's what the energy was matching for me in my head. That kind of breakaway, allowing some of that soul to seep through. And while this is definitely a different type of soul breakthrough compared to the Black and Blues one, which is just raw soul and raw effort, it was nice to hear it like really deconstruct itself, and you got to experience a little bit more of the vibe in the center. I like that. But this is definitely just a slightly more dancey version of the prior song with a trap breakdown. That's about the only difference, really. Everything else melodically and structure-wise was entirely the same, even down to the final little bit that they played. So I can't really say too much about it since I already did talk about that, but I do like this rendition more because I feel that it fits the overall mood a little bit better, and it softens up that expectation for me, where the first one just felt like it was trying to be something that it really wasn't, and it felt a little bit odd. It just felt slightly out of place overall. But again, the mood is probably to be a little bit goofy. So is it really out of theme? I don't think so. But I think that's about all I'll say for this one. So thank you all so very much for watching. If you want me to get to more Blue Archive stuff, leave a comment down below of what I should get to next. I have a few others on that post that I mentioned earlier that I want to get to. And if you have any from that list that you want me to get to, give one of those comments a like, because I'll be checking that back next week for my next video. But either way, if you want to follow me and support me and all that, you know how to do that. I actually have a Patreon and Ko-fi update coming in a few days. So if you want to follow me and support me in that respect, you know how to do all that, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!